Welcome back to From the Shadow to the Light, the podcast that delves deep into the journey from darkness to enlightenment. Hi, I'm Debbie Gill, your guide on this transformative journey of profound discovery and personal evolution. Today we explore a theme that resonates deeply with many, hitting rock bottom. It's a place we fear, yet it's also where many of us find the bedrock of our true selves. This episode will take us into the depths of despair, not to dwell there, but to uncover the seeds of extraordinary transformation that often begin in our darkest moments. In this episode, I'll share my journey to and through rock bottom, highlighting the critical moments of realization and decision that eventually led to my recovery. We'll explore the intense struggle with addiction, battles with self-worth, destructive relationships, and the powerful, sometimes painful insights that only such trials can teach us. We'll discuss the terrifying yet enlightening experience of losing control and the facade we often hold on to, all while battling the internal and external pressures that drive us toward a breaking point. As we navigate this chapter, we'll understand that hitting rock bottom isn't just an end, it's a potential beginning. The crucial turning point invites us to rebuild, often stronger and wiser than before. This episode is for anyone who feels they are nearing or have reached their own rock bottom, for those who have struggled with addiction, faced overwhelming challenges, or felt lost in the depths of despair. It's for anyone looking for a sign that there's hope, even when all seems lost. Join me as I share my experiences, hoping to light a path for others who may feel enveloped in darkness, proving that rock bottom isn't the end, but a unique opportunity for rebirth and profound transformation. Denial and bottling up emotions. The end of my marriage was not just the dissolution of a union, but a profound and transformative impact on my sense of identity and emotional well-being. The realization that it was over was more than just unbearable. It was as if the essence of my being was fragmenting. I felt like I was dying inside, an emotional upheaval that threatened to engulf my entire existence. The instinct to revert to old patterns was almost reflexive in that profound agony. I pushed down the crippling feelings of abandonment and rejection, barricading them from beyond a facade of composure and resilience to the look-good little girl facade from my childhood. This mask was an armor against the pain, but also a denial of the significant emotional work I had embarked upon over the years. One evening, I carried a baked ziti dinner to Andy's house, a man I had become intensely attracted to. The setting of the table with wine glasses wasn't just about hospitality, but a stark emblem of temptation and the choice that lay before me. I rationalized one glass of wine wouldn't hurt, standing on the precipice of old habits. This moment underscored the illusory sense of control I thought I had reclaimed over my life and my addiction. Taking that first sip, I was momentarily cloaked in a faux sense of empowerment. It was more than savoring a drink. It was an experiment to test my strength against my former weaknesses. However, addiction doesn't succumb to such tests. It lies in wait. As the wine took effect, the familiar patterns of dependency crept back, a haunting reminder that control over addiction isn't regained in a moment, but fought for continuously. Each time I convinced myself that I could manage just one drink, I played into that dangerous illusion that I could negotiate with my addiction. But reality was harsh. Each sip was a regression into a past I had desperately fought to escape. The struggle to manage my drinking only illuminated the control as a mirage, a denial of the deeper emotional scars that needed healing. Reflect on a time when you denied your emotions and bottled them up. How did it impact your actions and decisions? How can acknowledging and addressing our emotions help prevent the illusion of control and lead to healthier coping mechanisms? The seductive power of addiction. Addiction has an insidious way of deceiving and controlling us. After that first drink with Andy, the illusion of control began to unravel. My initial attempts to manage my drinking were met with failure, and the allure of alcohol grew stronger. The belief that I could control my addiction was a dangerous deception. Each drink felt like a way to regain some semblance of normalcy, but it only pulled me deeper into the abyss. The seductive power of addiction is subtle yet overwhelming. It started with thinking I could enjoy just one drink without consequences. But addiction is cunning, baffling, and powerful. The initial euphoria and relief quickly gave way to a relentless craving I couldn't satisfy. The lines between social drinking and dependency blurred as I found myself drinking more frequently and in larger quantities. The addict within me was relentless, and I was powerless to resist. The seductive nature of addiction made it impossible to see the extent of my problem. I continued to deceive myself, believing I could stop whenever I wanted. Each sip was a lie I told myself, a promise that tomorrow would be different, that I would have control. But the truth was, I was spiraling out of control, and my addiction was tightening its grip on every aspect of my life. The seductive power of addiction doesn't just lie in the substance itself, but in the false sense of security and control it offers. It promises relief from pain, escape from reality, and a fleeting sense of happiness. But these promises are empty, leading us only to deeper despair and entrapment. Reflect on a time when addiction or a harmful habit seduced you into believing it was under control. What were the consequences? How can we become more aware of the deceptive nature of addiction to better protect ourselves and seek help when needed? The search for external validation. In my quest for love and validation, I sought approval from others, hoping it would fill the void within me. My relationships mirrored my internal chaos. Like many before him, Andy never truly saw or valued me. I allowed myself to be taken advantage of, financially and emotionally, hoping for love and approval that never came. The psychological tug-of-war with Tom, who is still living in my house and about to file for divorce, only added to my turmoil. Our constant bickering drained me emotionally and mentally. I was desperate for love, acceptance, and recognition, making impulsive decisions that led me further into darkness. This relentless pursuit of external validation only deepened my addiction and sense of worthlessness. In my quest for validation, I attended Delaware's most eligible bachelor's event. There, dressed in an outfit that screamed, "Look at me," I embraced the femme fatale archetype, determined to draw attention. Several good-looking men were dancing to Jelly Roll, my favorite party band, and I captured the eye of one of them, a handsome ex-professional athlete. We shared time together over the next several weeks, and I was smitten. I kept my drinking in check, as I didn't want to damage the relationship I thought we had. Once again, life with him and the white picket fence occupied my mind, only to be shattered into a million pieces when I saw him one night with another woman. The dagger plunged deep into my heart, making it difficult, if not impossible, to breathe. I felt humiliated and sunk deeper into the mire. The approval I sought from others was a fleeting and unreliable source of self-worth. Each relationship where I gave too much and received too little left me feeling emptier than before. Dr. Wayne Dyer's words about giving too much too soon resonated deeply within me. He explained how giving too much can weigh down a relationship, causing the other person to feel indebted and eventually flee. This was a consistent pattern and left me even more desperate and alone. My extreme need for external validation reflected my inability to validate myself. I was looking for others to fill the void that only I could do. This relentless search for acceptance led to a cycle of dependency, disappointment, and deeply ingrained addiction. Reflect on when you sought validation from others to fill an internal void. What were the outcomes? And how did it impact your self-worth? How can we shift our focus from seeking external validation to cultivating self-acceptance and self-love? The descent into dependence. The seductive power of addiction had already taken root, but the descent into total dependence was relentless. The rejection and humiliation from the ex-professional athlete drove me further into the arms of addiction. My drinking escalated, and soon I was unable to go a day without alcohol. One night in February, as I was about to pull into a parking spot outside Gators, a local tap room, a car swooped in and took it. Angrily, I went inside and ordered a drink to settle my nerves. The man who stole my parking spot approached me and introduced himself as Michael. He apologized and offered to buy me a beer. I accepted the offer, not wanting to turn down a free drink. Michael wasn't my type. He was obviously from the other side of the tracks. A wife-beater t-shirt, tattoos, and much younger. Despite this, after last call, he offered me cocaine, and my ears perked up. The addict, already in full swing, burst forth with even more powerful cravings. We went to my house, and to my surprise, he never left. The tie that bound me to Michael was his 5-year-old son, little Mikey. He was so adorable, yet forlorn, reminding me of my own childhood. I fell in love with this little boy. Somehow he mirrored my starved need for love and attention. Michael knew how to skillfully exploit my vulnerabilities. He wooed me with love notes, rose petals, and grand gestures that masked his true intentions. My life with him became a cycle of codependency, and I fell further into my addiction. The need for alcohol became constant, and my drinking habits spiraled out of control. I was drinking morning, noon, and night, rationalizing my maintenance drinking as a means to keep functioning. The true insanity of my addiction became glaringly evident during one particular incident. While driving to the beach with little Mikey and his niece Amanda, Michael suddenly panicked about being pulled over by the police and demanded that we switch seats. Without hesitation, I recklessly maneuvered into the driver's seat at 70 miles an hour, completely disregarding the danger. This life-threatening decision starkly illustrated how deeply addiction had clouded my judgment. The deceptive nature of addiction made it impossible to see the extent of my problem. I continued to deceive myself, believing I could stop whenever I wanted. Each sip was a lie, I told myself, a promise that tomorrow would be different, that I would have control. But the truth was, I was spiraling out of control, and my addiction was tightening its grip on every aspect of my life. Reflect on a time when you realized you were losing control over a harmful habit or addiction. What were the signs, and how did it impact your life? How can acknowledging the depth of our dependence help us seek support and resources needed for recovery? Hitting rock bottom. My daily life was unmanageable. I found it impossible to be responsible for ordinary tasks such as paying bills. As each invoice arrived in the mail, I quickly placed it in the ignore pile. Unfortunately, my mortgage company wasn't amenable to this, and I soon found myself in a dire situation: foreclosure. The issue wasn't money. The problem was I couldn't write a check because of my tremors. The addict was ingrained and resolute in owning my body, mind, and spirit. It rendered me powerless. I had no control over its shadow. Despair and hopelessness anchored within, pulling me further into depression. It was a psychic weight that kept me harnessed in the chains of bondage. There was no freedom for me. There was no escape. I hated drinking, but I could not stop. There was nothing worse than not wanting to drink, but having to. After downing a beer at 8 o'clock the following morning, I decided it was my last one. Within a couple of hours, however, I began to regret my decision as acute withdrawal symptoms, the DTs, hit. I lay on the floor with unbearable pain. My skin was burning and itching. I was sweating and had gut-wrenching dry heaves. Shaking involuntarily, I began to cry, sobbing, "I'm in deep trouble." When I finally realized I was in over my head, alarm bells rang. I couldn't take the pain anymore. The tremors and the feeling of wanting to crawl out of my skin were too much. The addict's grip overpowered me, and without resolve, I told Michael to go to the liquor store and buy a pint of vodka. He complied. Keeping me in an obliviated state was vital for him. When he returned, I took the bottle and drank the entire contents like water. I still had the shakes, although the tremor-like seizures subsided. Of all the times I faced death, this was the closest I had come. I indeed would have died without drinking the vodka. My ignorance of alcoholism, coupled with the inability to think straight, focus, and make decisions, led to fear so entrenched I couldn't move forward in life. I have no memory of the next 2 weeks. I was about to hit rock bottom. Reflect on a time when you realized you had hit rock bottom. What were the key moments that led to this realization? How can hitting rock bottom become the foundation for seeking help and starting the journey toward recovery? As we conclude today's exploration of hitting rock bottom, we've delved deep into the intense struggles with addiction, the battles with self-worth, and the destructive relationships that accompany such a dark period. We've reflected on the profound despair that comes with losing control and the dangerous decisions that arise from desperation. Hitting rock bottom is not just an end, but a stark realization of our situation and the dire need for change. It's a place where we're forced to confront our deepest fears and the reality of our circumstances. As we've seen today, rock bottom can feel like a bottomless pit, where hope seems distant and the future uncertain. Yet, even in the darkest moments, there's a seed of potential for transformation, though it may not be immediately apparent. As we navigate these reflections, it's crucial to remember that acknowledging the depths of our despair is the first step toward understanding and eventually finding a path out. It's about recognizing the signs, understanding the patterns, and preparing ourselves for the possibility of change, even when it feels impossible. As we bid farewell to this chapter of our journey, let us carry forward the lessons learned, the wisdom gained, and the hope that burns brightly within us. For, in the end, it is not the destination that matters, but the journey itself, the journey of exploring our hearts and stepping into the light of our true potential. Until next time, keep nurturing your inner light and embracing the beauty of the path you walk. May you find strength in your struggles and joy in your triumphs. And remember, even in the darkest moments, a spark of light is always waiting to be discovered. Thank you for listening to this episode of From the Shadow to the Light. Join me next time as we explore the first steps toward recovery and the support systems that can guide us out of the darkness.